I remember the day everything changed. We had only lived in the Maplewood Grove subdivision for just under 2 months, still surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and the lingering scent of fresh paint, when I first saw the striking figure of Deborah Langford, the head of our homeowners association. She was at least 2 inches taller than me, commanding in her pencil skirt and perfectly tailored blazer. Even the wind seemed to hesitate as she passed. My wife, Camila, and I had always known living under an HOA wouldn't be carefree. We'd heard the stories, strict rules, unreasonable fines, and an obsession with conformity. But the house was everything we dreamed of, so we told ourselves we could tolerate a few bureaucratic headaches. Camila has a service dog named Maple, a chocolate lab with a heart as gentle as her soft brown coat. Maple helps Camila manage anxiety and mobility issues resulting from a rare autoimmune condition. She is not just a pet, she is Camila's lifeline. As soon as we moved in, we notified the HOA about Maple, hoping to prevent any confusion. Legally, it shouldn't have mattered, but we wanted to be transparent. From the start, though, Deborah had a problem with Maple. At first, I thought it was standard HOA nitpicking. "Your dog is out on the grass," she would say, or "I don't appreciate barking at odd hours." But Maple was never noisy. She had been crate-trained and socialized from an early age. More than once, I caught Deborah glaring at her from across the street like she was some threat to her manicured dominion. One sunny Saturday, Camila and I sat on the porch. She was reading, I was sipping iced tea, and Maple lay at our feet in the sun. That peaceful moment shattered when Deborah marched up to us. "I need a word," she said curtly, arms folded across her chest. Camila lowered her book and gave me a wary look. I set down my tea. "Of course, Deborah. What's going on?" She pointed at Maple. "Our HOA has a strict pet weight limit of 20 pounds. Your dog clearly exceeds that." I took a slow breath, trying to remain calm. "We've told you before. Maple is a certified service animal protected under the ADA. That policy doesn't apply." Deborah's lips thinned. "I've read the ADA guidelines. But this HOA has its own rules. If your dog violates them, we reserve the right to demand removal." Camila visibly tensed, her breath catching. This kind of confrontation was exactly what worsened her anxiety. "Still," she managed, "I'm sorry, but the law says I know what the law says," Deborah snapped before spinning around and striding away. We sat in stunned silence. I felt a chill despite the warm air. We hadn't moved here for conflict, but for good schools and peaceful streets. Yet, in that moment, I realized we'd made a powerful enemy. What followed was relentless. Every few days, we received new violation notices. Our trash can placement, the hedge height, claims that Maple was off-leash, all untrue. Camila, who had always prided herself on balancing her demanding federal job with her health issues, began to fray. This wasn't about rules. It felt personal. One evening, after a brutal day at work dealing with a discrimination case, Camila came home exhausted and teary. Just as I was trying to comfort her, there was a knock at the door. I hoped it might be a kind neighbor. It wasn't. Deborah stood there with an animal control officer beside her. "We've received multiple complaints about your dog being aggressive and running loose," Deborah said, triumphant. "Aggressive? Maple is the gentlest dog I've ever met," I replied. "She's never off-leash except in our fenced yard." The officer cleared her throat. "We've had enough calls to require an inspection. May I see the dog?" Camila was trembling. Maple, sensing the tension, gently nudged her hand and stood beside her. The officer extended her hand. Maple sniffed it, then licked it. "She doesn't appear aggressive," the officer admitted. "She lunges at me whenever I walk by," Deborah argued. "We still need to follow protocol," the officer said. "If any evidence of aggression emerges, there may be consequences." Camila finally found her voice. "This is a service dog, and under the ADA, you cannot remove her for simply existing." Deborah flushed a deep red, but forced a smile. "We're just doing our job, dear." "You called animal control to harass us," I said, my anger barely contained. Deborah smiled coldly. "We'll see about that." The officer left without issuing citations but warned the file would remain open. Deborah lingered a second longer, her look venomous. That night, after helping Camila calm down, she disappeared into her home office. Hours later, she emerged with a fire in her eyes. "I'm filing an official complaint," she said. "Not just as a resident, but as a federal ADA compliance officer." Camila worked in the very agency that enforced ADA regulations. It was her job to investigate violations like this. "My boss has encouraged me to act when I see personal discrimination." And I spoke to Mrs. Ramirez next door. Deborah harassed them over her husband's wheelchair ramp. This is systemic. Then we stand our ground, I said, placing a hand on hers. The days that followed were oddly quiet. No notices. No confrontations. Just silence. It made me uneasy. Then came the letter. Signed by Deborah, the HOA stated our fence violated aesthetic codes and needed full replacement within 30 days. The fine? Several $1,000s. They also reasserted fines related to Maple. Camila was furious. This fence was here when we bought the house. She's trying to force us out, I said grimly. Camila's phone buzzed. Her boss was calling back. After the conversation, she returned with a determined look. We're proceeding with a formal investigation. Not just for us, but for every disabled resident who's been mistreated. We attended the next HOA meeting at the community center. The room was unusually full. Word had gotten out. Deborah opened the meeting with her usual pomp before addressing a violation involving an oversized dog. Camila stood, folder in hand. My name is Camila. The dog is my certified service animal. ADA regulations require HOAs to accommodate service dogs, regardless of size. Deborah Langford has not only violated these laws but has harassed us and others. The room rippled with murmurs. Deborah's face twisted. Camila continued, more confident. I work as an ADA compliance officer. I have extensive documentation and have filed an official complaint. Just then, the door opened. Camila's boss, Mr. Garcia, entered with another ADA official. They approached the front. We are opening a formal investigation into this HOA, Mr. Garcia announced. Shock rippled through the crowd. Deborah went pale, muttering about HOA rights. The ADA official calmly replied, HOAs are not above federal law. He handed her a notice of investigation. Deborah looked as though the ground had vanished beneath her. Neighbors began to approach us. Some offered support. Others apologized. Camila looked tired but lighter. The next morning, we found a notice taped to our door. The HOA would seek an injunction to evict us. It was legally flimsy but emotionally crushing. Camila looked at me, fire in her eyes. No more playing nice. The investigation escalated. Testimonies poured in. Camila uncovered email showing Deborah had misled board members about accessibility laws. A court hearing was scheduled. On the day of the hearing, we entered the courthouse with Camila's ADA team. Deborah sat alone, diminished. The judge reviewed everything carefully. This HOA has violated the ADA, he ruled. Eviction proceedings are null. Fines are reversed. The HOA is fined. If Deborah Langford is found personally liable, further action will follow. The courtroom fell silent. Camila exhaled. A small smile formed on her lips. News spread. Deborah resigned from the board. Some said lawsuits from other residents were forthcoming. Camila was recognized at work for standing up to injustice not just professionally but personally. She was promoted. We repainted the living room, planted sunflowers, and finally began to feel at home. Maple basked in the sun, free and loved. One afternoon, I saw Deborah's car glide down the street. She didn't look at our house. That was the last time I saw her. A new HOA president was elected, Rebecca, kind and community-minded. Policies changed. Fines were reduced. Neighbors grew closer. One evening, surrounded by laughter, food, and the warmth of newfound friends, Camila whispered, it was all worth it. You're incredible, I said. We clinked our glasses and toasted to a life free from fear. We defended our dignity, found our voice, and reclaimed our home. And in the heart of that home lay Maple, our reminder that love and justice can endure, even in the face of tyranny.